try to stay away from update questions about questions about like when's this gonna be ready, when's that gonna be ready. We're here to answer the real questions. Not the update stuff. We don't always know when it's gonna be. Put the question into the browser of your choice, and we will do our best to get to it. We've been doing pretty good lately.
Yeah, you do not need to, just preemptively, you don't need to like spam the same question 15 times over. We've got 3-4 guys right now, watching all the various feeds and getting any questions in there. So we get pages of questions we try and get through. So
yeah,
you don't need to keep hammering away at it. We're not ignoring them.
Now, are these questions from last week?
Nope, these are all new.
Oh, they're all new?
Like
except for the Power Max one.
That's okay, because I remember that.
Everything else.
Yeah, YouTube's got a bunch of questions already queued up.
Okay, let's get rid of that one. Okay, all right, let's jump into it. Is there any way to replay watch recorded live data from the mobile app or PC?
I mean, currently any of the logs are exported as an MDF, which is it's an industry standard data format. But I mean, the logging purposes are ideally for us to review as a diagnostic step. So we don't currently have any replay or playback stuff set up in the app.
But are there like replayer apps out there that
I'm sure you can find something? It's just, I mean, it's an MDF. It can be converted to a CSV. You can dump that into I'm sure other.
And that's something we can consider adding in the future. Yep. I think it's on the list.
No, we have talked about it, but currently it's a diagnostic purpose.
Can you share any information on the Prototype TTE turbo that will be used for Stage 3 8Y S3? Will it be similar to TTE 555 or 535 or even bigger? Yeah, I don't know. We haven't said anything about this yet, but we may as well. It's a TTE 575 is what we have, and I believe we're the first ones in the world to get it. We are doing some initial testing and evaluation for TTE, so we will release more information as it comes out. Again, we're still interested to see like how many S3 Golf R peeps out there are even interested in going to this step. People do seem a little apprehensive still on upping the power too much on that new platform. So I have a B8 S4 that's a California car, but the vehicle is no longer registered in California. Is there any emissions hardware that can be removed since it does not fall under CARB anymore?
No. All that emissions hardware needs to be in place also for the EPA and all of the other normal, no, there's no emissions hardware that is CARB specific on that car.
There is a misconception in the community that California is worse than other places. I mean, yes, California does have its own enforcement division called California Air Resources Board. There is a National Air Resources Board, so ours is called California Air, but California
ARB is its own.
Yeah. California didn't invent the Air Resources Board, so there is a national level, but the most problematic agency is really the EPA, which I walked by their offices. I was in Washington, D.C. this week. The EPA has jurisdiction over the entire United States of America. It's given to them, that their power is given to them by the Clean Air Act and by Congress. So there's really nowhere in the U.S. that's safe from the EPA when it comes to polluting the air. You can go on the EPA website and see all their enforcement actions, and they're all over the country. They're in Alabama and Oklahoma, and you name it.
Texas really hard.
Yeah, and they're hitting farmers. They're hitting off-road dirt bike, companies. They're hitting companies.
That's a good point. They're literally any emitting device factories to car. It can be transport. It can be commercial activity.
Yeah. Now, I mean, to temper that a little bit, the EPA doesn't have a track record of going after individual people. They can do a lot more damage / benefits to the Clean Air Act if they go after companies that are, enabling or driving. It would be impossible for the EPA to go to every individual in the U.S., but if it kind of trickles up to the companies, it's the low-hanging fruit. So you can do whatever you want, and you take the risk of possibly having law enforcement tell you to put your car back. But I don't believe that there's, other than again, if you remove your cats, that will be violating the EPA. But if you don't have any kind of local smog, requirements, then you could probably get away with it. But just so legally,
Leave it all.
That is for racing use. Sanctioned racing use is the only appropriate legal time to take off your cats. In general, more and more we're advocating for clean emissions vehicles, and we're more and more able to create
This
really high power levels,
so little reason these days.
high levels of performance. If we have a Merc Racing Supercharger, is it safe to run on any 0 through 4 tune? If so, which one? Stock type pulley ratio with stage 2 plus tune, high pressure fuel pump required.
No, it will have its own. It has its own specific file. It is a very different airflow situation than the stock supercharger. So we are wrapping that up imminently. Just need to do testing on some B8.5 stuff right now, which we're working on at this time.
And the Merc Racing Charger has its own pulley configuration too.
Yeah, the pulleys, and it's a whole different.
Yeah.
Like you're not talking the same pulley ratios as you would be on the stock blowers, because it's totally different rotating assembly.
Yeah, so I would say you're getting a little ahead of yourself, because I don't think you have a Merc Racing Supercharger.
No, he's shipped.
Is he starting to ship it?
Yep, no, for sure. So,
okay, well, if you got it, just stay tuned. We will have tuning specifically for that, and I don't believe we will condone running whatever tune with the Merc Racing.
No, and we'll have it. We're trying to get it wrapped up as quick as we can here.
Yeah. B8.5 TC revision updates. A lot of shit talking going on in the B8 community by that one APR guy that keeps stalking you all. What's his name? David Panichoti?
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
Whatever rendition of it.
Panichoti. David, is a Panichoti, or however you say his name is a very interesting guy. Definitely does not like us.
Really does.
Seems to like APR and now some other tuners. What's with all the Jackal trolls lately? There does seem to be a lot of them. We have some very good news coming for B8 TCU, and we have solved the 1-2 gear dropout issue once and for all. We are the only tuner that will have Jackal. Anyone who currently has a B8 TCU tune right now has this dropout issue.
Yeah.
So we will release more information. We should be able to release it the next week or so. And it's a game changer for the B8 because it has been. Now not every car seems to do it.
Oh, it's very So it's very. Don't know how much specifics we're going to talk about in this here, but it's very vehicle and setup specific. There are certain situations where it can be triggered very repeatedly. I started down this path before this whole Jackal thing. This was once we started doing some of the Merc Racing Charger stuff and a couple of the real higher output calibrations we're working on, and I'm also going in and playing with torque models and things. But anyway, I was able to get it to trip just on a traditional 1-2 gear change. If you had wheel slip or anything like that, making a bunch of power. So it isn't limited to launch control or anything specific to AMAX. AMAX just dramatically aggravates it because you're in a forced clutch slip situation. But yeah, no, we 100% found the issue and have fixed it.
Yeah,
and we're going to be wrapping up some files real soon here for you guys to get out there and use them.
Yeah, so it'll be a free update for anyone who currently owns our TCU tuning, and it will be obviously included with all stuff coming.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the testing we did this weekend?
I mean, we've done a lot of testing on it.
It's
held up really well to the testing. We're actually going to post a little teaser of some of the testing we're doing this weekend. Yeah. So keep an eye out on our social medias for that today. Why does 034 not do revisions when tunes don't feel right? Where do these questions come? What kind of question is that?
I don't know. We absolutely will.
That's such a straw man.
Yeah, we'll absolutely 100% revise any file that we find any issue with.
We not only will, we have like thousands of times.
We've got tons of revisions. That's actually to go back to our last question. That's one thing the APR guy likes to criticize us of, is having all these different revisions and doing all these updates and things, because apparently you can't win. It's like, you know, but yes, we absolutely will revise files if there's an issue we find. The problem, what some people I think run into, is they feel something's off with their car. They feel there's something wrong, and we need to see the data on that. We need to log it. We need to find a root cause to it, because chances are good we've got hundreds, thousands of people on the same exact calibration and are not, not coming forward with this issue. So we need to get to the root of it, because if we make a change that fixes it for your car, but now is impacted, 600 other cars in a negative manner, that's not going to help anybody. So other than you,
not knowing more of the question is false. Yeah. We absolutely always update everything that's wrong or needs improving or needs an update. In some cases, we will resist if it's people want more crackles or less crackles.
Yeah, if it's a customization thing.
In other cases, there are technical or running issues that do arise, and it takes time to figure them out and solve them. That doesn't mean we're not doing an update. Yep. So if whoever's wrote that question can give a little bit more insight on, is there specifically one thing that we haven't updated? Yeah. Can you provide an example? I'd honestly love to hear.
And that goes back to the AMAX stuff that people think we don't know how to do or haven't updated or don't want to bother doing for the B8s. It's not that we don't know how to do it. We've had it on and off. We've tested it way back years ago. We decided, proactively that it was not a situation that works for enough cars, in the field that are making a bunch of power, that we turned it off.
But even that, we've updated. We'll have an update.
100%. But, where we get slammed that, APR is going to figure it out and they've got to turn it on. No, they just turned on the factory one. And if you get enough clutch slip, you're going to get clutch drop. Or, if you get enough, wheel slip and you're making enough power, you're going to get a clutch release in the middle of your launch. And it's a known thing. Yeah. What all of the other calibrators have run into. So we just, knuckled down and dug into it, fixed it for real. That's what we're moving with now.
Yeah, but I mean, Sean, if you want to ask them, I'd honestly love to.
Yeah,
what they're even talking about.
What are they not getting resolved?
Have you got any recommendations on the best project for a time attack car? What would you buy? I mean, that needs a little more qualification. So, like, are we talking about like in global time attack? I guess. I mean,
there's so many classes.
What cars are you competing against?
Because we're time attack.
How much money do you want to spend?
That's the thing. Time attack runs the gamut of stock car classes, where you've got some rules and stuff you can work in, to like the $500,000 builds and complete, ground up tube frame things. So there's it's
I don't even know what cars are really fast right now in time attack. Is it still Evos and stuff?
No, it's like GTRs. Full two-frame cars.
Yeah, it's big, crazy race car build stuff.
There's a 350Z with a 4.2-liter V6. Like, that's how big they bored it out to, and it has a hybrid drivetrain in it. That's like one of the fastest cars right there.
Yeah. So
that's
the time attack stuff has. If you want to go like all out winner, it's a big field to get into.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's lots of levels to it. So pick a level, and that'll dictate a lot of the vehicle choices there.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like a fun, fast track car, I would seriously consider like a B9 A4 DSG car. That would be really fun if you can get the power, even a B9 S4. But the A4 was always really fun to drive on track.
I don't know if I'd call it a time attack. Yeah.
Well, it depends what you're competing
again. It's going to totally depend on the class. If it's like a 2-liter and under, or like
if you were in a 4-cylinder class, and you were competing with similar size and weight cars. Yeah. But time attacks, it's tough. You really need to kind of pick your series and see who's doing well in it, and that's going to kind of. I will say we've time attacked Audis, and they're not they're not that competitive. I mean, it's tough.
It's hard to make
Right.
them. Yeah, like
We were competing with
Super
Evos and GTRs and STIs, and it's you can get competitive, but you have to put a lot more time and work into it.
Yeah.
Audis do a lot of things well, and they're not just fast cars.
Yeah.
They're comfortable. They're quiet. They're safe. They have beautiful interiors,
Yeah.
which you would be ripping out. So they're And he's saying street class in New Zealand. I mean, I don't know what the rules are, but an RS3 could do really well. A TTRS could do really well. Any kind of MQB car that's set up well with all-wheel drive and like 400 or 500 horsepower. I don't know.
Yeah, that gets you out of the street class stuff, though.
I don't know.
That's the trick.
I don't know what this.
Yeah, go see what's racing, basically, and see what's fast.
Yeah.
So give you an idea of what people are. So.
Your guys' cam for the 2013 B8.5 can it be used with an IE tune? Probably. We don't know. We've tested them on our tuning with good results.
Yeah.
There's not, the cams are such, and the B8 ECU control is such that the factory system should be able to accommodate a change in cams like that and make more power. But we can't speak for IE's tuning. So if you want to for sure make more power and make the most power and run our cams, then our tuning's going to give you the best result, most known result. You think if I ever go E85 or E60 on TTE A10 and just stick to 93 octane, then I'll need head studs or main studs. If I do decide to go E85 or E60, will I need them then? We haven't seen the need for head studs on 93, but yes, on E60, it will just be a matter of time before your head gaskets will start to leak. Although we're still not seeing it as much with customers as we have here at our facility.
Yeah, I think it's just down to how much track time and dyno time and just the full load hours that our motors see.
They're starting to.
It stacks up a lot quicker.
But I would say on E60, you should plan on doing head studs at some point. Main studs aren't as critical at that level. The main studs, I think, are more of a if you're doing an engine build while you're in there, do it, sure. But you will need head gaskets sooner or later. The more power you're making, so
head studs. You mean?
Yeah. What did I say?
Head gaskets. Which if you don't
head gaskets and your head gaskets will start leaking.
Yeah,
because the factory studs just stretch. The factory bolts stretch. And yes, of course, we have the whole Wagner package, which would be the way to go if you're serious about it. B9, B9.5 SQ5 Control Arms. Why should we choose 034 as an option? What are the benefits of running them? Well, all of our Density 9 control arms meet or exceed factory quality and longevity for a fraction of the price. So that's probably the main reason. And we do use the highest durometer rubber possible to make the arms more responsive and better handling than the factory arms. So you're going to get a slightly stiffer product that's designed and set up for heavy duty driving at, in many cases, a fourth of the price of factory arms. And we are still usually cheaper than a lot of the aftermarket options too, like Phoebe Bilstein or Molly or Miley or those people, those types. We will have full kits up on the website by the end of the week. And if you're really interested in them, check our website every day. You'll see them pop up here in the next few days. Lots of questions coming in about 2023 Mark 8 TCU tuning. We don't have any major updates for that.
It's being worked on.
We're working on it. There has been some kind of misleading posts by another company or two in the last few months. They have not figured it out. They don't have a solution.
The posts, as far as I know, the posts have all been removed as well. But
really?
I think so. Yeah, they went up and then they came right back down within a day.
They got a bunch of attention. So
I may be mistaken on a couple, but I think most of them.
Yeah. How was Black Friday for you guys? Markets are down, retailers are complaining. How was it for you? Our sale is over. It ended last Monday, so a week ago, or maybe it was Tuesday. I don't know about markets being down. They're definitely up over the last few weeks, but I haven't heard a lot of complaining from other retailers. It was our biggest Black Friday ever, and our biggest month ever. So it was very good for us. We're very happy with the results. We shipped most of the orders that came in, and then we are experiencing some inventory outages due to the high volume. So we're working to correct those. But it was very good. I think I mentioned it last week. Thank you guys for the support. Very good. So yeah, we're doing good. I think the economy for 2024 is looking up. I don't think it's going to be worse than it was this year. There's a lot of good momentum going into next year with interest rates leveling off and dropping. The Fed indicated that they were likely, I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen, right? But they indicated that there won't be any more rate hikes, and that they're looking to start lowering interest rates coming into the next year. So all those things bode well for bringing inflation down and getting the economy in a lower inflation. The interesting thing is the economy hasn't been bad. Unemployment's been at record lows, continues to be, but inflationary pressure is, and wages are up too, but inflation is making it feel pretty expensive for a lot of people. And I can relate. I bought more than one $22 cocktail in Washington, D.C. this
God,
weekend.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. I used to make $2.30 in high school.
Oh my, yeah,
Per hour.
right.
So I would have had to work, like 2 days to afford
A drink.
one of those cocktails,
Crazy.
not including tip.
I don't know what's wrong with some Instagram folks here, but they're suspecting that we are pre-recorded because their questions haven't been answered in a timely manner.
Oh, that's an interesting conspiracy.
Yeah, there's two guys like, this shit's pre-recorded. No, guys, we got a lot of questions.
Do you think that there was a leak in that community of patriots where the information got back to us, and so this is actually still pre-recorded, but since we heard about it,
I knew they were
we
going to
we pre-recorded
Yeah,
about this. That could be
If
possible.
you haven't seen this before, we always say this right about this time in the streams.
Yes, yeah, that's true. Just to be safe.
Just to be safe.
Can I tune my B8.5 S4 with my phone? Yes, you can flash it with your phone.
You absolutely can. Yeah,
I don't think anyone can calibrate a car with a phone.
that would be
Maybe they can.
that would be a terrible.
If
interface
anyone
to
could do
that
it.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Yes,
To do actual
you can
calibration.
use our 034 SPI and our R4 dongle to flash any of our tunes on your car.
Yep. ECU and TCU. Yep.
We would just ask that you close Tinder while you're doing it.
Yeah. Please let it just do the flashing.
You want the app to be in the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
And those swipes will still be there when you're done.
You can get back to it.
Nate, when you guys figure out fueling, will the B8.5 S4 S5 be able to tango with the stage 3 B9s? And why can't we just drop a Hello Kitty fuel pump in?
I'm all about the Hello Kitty pumps.
The Hello Kitty, yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean it's down to the power adder beyond the fueling. So the B9 is fortunate where it's got a very easily upgradable power adder. The S4, the B8 is going to be limited to the supercharger options right now. So I don't know that it's going to be quite at the same peer level, but they're going to be getting faster and faster. We've got some good stuff coming.
Yeah, I think at this point it's good to if you're committed to the B8 platform, compare your B8 results to other B8 results because the B8's never going to be the B9 because of the turbocharging dynamic, at minimum.
Yeah.
And as the Merc Racing Supercharger and our tuning and our fueling solutions, close the gap on B9 2020. B9 2024 is just rocketing forward.
Right.
So, if you're a B8 tuner and you're comparing your results to B9s, you're just going to be disappointed. So, there are advantages to the B8. They're much cheaper.
Well, there's that. There's the driving experience. Still, I think is
the throttle response.
The instant response of both the ECU and the TCU, and those
lack of turbo lag. There. A B8 S4, you can get into one now for $15,000 all day long, and a B9 S4 is still going to cost you $35,000. So, just save yourself the heartache, and I would say just
they're two totally different cars. And that said, I mean, there's B8s and the 10s that it's still a fast car. Like it's certainly no slouch.
Yeah. I also really wanted to marry Natalie Portman, and that ship has sailed. So I've stopped comparing anything to that. So, you just got to move on it. But there is a lot more for B8 coming, and B8 2020 has a lot to be worried about. That's for sure.
Yes.
Someone's asking if we're making big brake kits for the B9. We are. We just happen to have one of our production calipers there. So this is a 8-piston caliper, fully forged monoblock style caliper with 8 pistons. The piston sizing is we have engineered the piston sizing specifically for the performance and weight and braking dynamics of the B9 vehicles. This, I believe, is our nickel plated finish, and it has a beautiful 034 engraved here. And this will go on a massive rotor that, what's the size of that? 390 millimeter rotor. So please don't ask us when these are shipping, but they're in manufacturing. We're working with world-class caliper manufacturers. These aren't just like something we got from China. In fact, this company's main business is calipers for airplanes. Aerospace, like when that 747 hits the runway doing 150 miles an hour. Anyways, more to come, but wanted to just tease that, put that out there. B8.5 S4, do you have a response on no two engines are the same aside from the R&D for the tunes, but for people that is very far outside of where you actually tested the tunes, the broad spectrum of weather, etc. Not a hateful comment at all. I'm curious on your response to canned versus custom for your specific engine. All right, let me just do it quick and then Nate can add to it. No two engines are the same. True. Definitely no two engines are the same. No two snowflakes are the same. And snowflakes are quite simple compared to engines. So every engine runs a little bit different. It runs some amount differently. The compression ratio is some amount different. The injectors inject some different amount of fuel. There is variability in every factor, in every component of every engine. It so happens that no two ECU calibration outcomes are the same either, right? So because engines are different, ECUs are adaptable. So this is where kind of this idea of custom tuning falls apart. The ECU is not a static device. The ECU does not give the same amount of timing and fueling and knock correction to every motor. Okay, so because the ECU is adaptable within sufficient range to the variability of all engines, then we can offer an off-the-shelf calibration that does create optimal running performance and results, because the ECU is adapting to the unique performance and operating characteristics of every engine that is different.
Yeah, no, I think you got that.
Yeah. So you don't need custom tuning because there's really no such thing. The ECU is the only thing that does the custom tuning. So as long as we put the ECU within the correct plausible range of all the operating conditions needed, then the ECU can do quite a bit with it.
Yeah, it's a really wide set of modeling parameters that come in for all these different elevation, temperatures, rate of change, this, that, everything. When you put it, aftermarket flywheels or whatever, example you want to throw at it. Ideally, all of that stuff is captured as much as possible within the log. I mean, my biggest gripe with custom tuning on, I think any of these platforms in the VAG world, at least, is that the amount of R&D required to know what to tune and how to tune it is, the barrier to entry is incredibly high. You can turn knobs all day and get some sort of result on the other side, but to know what you're adjusting, why you're calibrating it, how it will work at various conditions, what, the ramifications are, where the limits are. There's a lot of things in these ECUs that are not in the calibration. You could never custom tune out some of these problems. You have to get into the firmware and fix some problems in the firmware and get around it that way. And, those are just things that you're never going to get from a generic custom tune.
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw out a little analogy that's, no analogy is perfect, but this is like saying, Nate and I are different people and we have different health needs and requirements. So because of that, we both cannot use the same doctor. We each have to have our own doctor who's custom tailored to each of our health. Yeah. And that's just not true, right? So if I go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, you have this certain condition, there's 3 different medications you could take, tell me about yourself, and oh, you're allergic to this one. So he would give me one medication. He could treat Nate with the same condition using a different medication that's better suited to Nate. The ECU is the same way. The same ECU doesn't treat every motor the same. In fact, you could, I think I've discussed this before, you could buy a B9 Audi S4 and you could log it with the engine that's in the car, and then you could take that engine out and put a different engine in, and then you could run it and log it. And those two logs would have some similarities, but they'd
be very similar, but they're not going to be bit for bit overlapping.
No, they would be customized for not only the operating conditions or operating peculiarities of each engine, but also for the fact that the air is different, from this time to that time. The environment is changing, the temperature, the air, the humidity, the elevation. The ECU is adjusting for all that stuff. So, custom tune doesn't help you do any of those things better. Yeah, and to Nate's point, like, custom tune is probably going to be a small time guy, and
that's the majority of
who's not going to have put in the R&D.
The questions when it comes up around custom tuning is, it's XYZ shop is able to flash these ECUs because some tools let them do that. So now they're a custom tuner and they have to be a specialist in whatever cars they cover, and it's usually an endless list of makes and models out there. So obviously they can't put the R&D time in to just dig in and research and understand from the the software level up to the calibration what's going on in there, which we have to do because we run into these limits and we need to fix them correctly so that our tune works on thousands of cars, not a car that you found some half workaround that made it work okay on the dyno.
Yeah, so there's just there's just nothing about a custom tune that makes it inherently better than a production file that allows the ECU to adapt to all the variable conditions within the engine and outside of it.
Yeah, and obviously that's given within the parameters of the specified the tune, what hardware is it set up for, that kind of thing. If you just want to go throw some completely unsupported thing on and go do your own, forge your own path, yes, then
that's the basis of the scope of it. That's the basis of the calibration. It's and not to say that the ECU can adapt to a different turbo or different injectors, right? Those are the things that have to be programmed correctly. What about head studs on E60 on standard output files? We haven't seen nearly as much strain on the head bolts and head gasket on the standard output files, but it could still happen. But I think the chances will be much lower.
Much lower. It's all about that cylinder pressure.
Yeah, we definitely have seen it on the high output files. It's just the price of making all that. Do you see any opportunities to improve OEM strut mounts for the B9 platform? Example, street tech density strut mounts. Off the top of my head, I don't know where we landed on that. We evaluate all this stuff, and I believe we evaluated that years ago and didn't see an opportunity. But I'm like 75% sure of that. I would say for sure if there was a huge opportunity, we would have done it already. we still may do something, but I don't know where we're at on that. Another tuner released an intercooler for the B9 RS5. They didn't release a larger heat exchanger like Wagner because their testing showed that a thicker unit impeded engine coolant. Thoughts? I don't know about what kind of testing they did. I would be very suspicious or skeptical. The problem is there's really no reason to upgrade the size of the core if there's nowhere for the heat to go. So if they're still using the factory heat exchanger, there's no cooling benefit because they're just holding more heat in the coolant.
Yeah, you could get away maybe with like it's a heat soak thing, right? So you've got a little more time for
maybe
a short pull.
There would be some amount of time of improved, right? Because if you have a bigger core and there's more coolant in the system, then to Nate's point, some of the heat can go in until the system's maxed out, until it heat soaks. But no, it's unfortunately a BSE product. I've seen at least one person buy the APR intercooler and they're using it with a Merc Racing heat exchanger. So you're going to end up having to buy a heat exchanger.
That would be the right way to solve it. I mean, it'd be interesting to see their ask them for their actual data, I guess. Would be the question.
I mean, I saw their public posts and
right.
They seem pretty light on technical ability over there these days. It's more of like they've hired someone to do social media, but
sure,
there's a lot of telling people to grab one, grabbing.
Grab it.
You can grab the information or grab the product. It's pretty funny, actually. But yeah, no, again, I recommend the Wagner kits. There are cooling solutions coming that properly address the engine cooling challenges.
We're not here to say also that putting a larger heat exchanger in front of the radiator isn't going to alter the airflow going through the radiator either. You've got to balance what your end goal is there.
But I would come out pretty strongly and say that you're still better off with a bigger heat exchanger than to not to do one. There's really no point to not upgrade the heat exchanger. Like they could have figured something else. Like they could have made a bigger, lower profile unit that stays down, or they could have try to add heat exchangers somewhere else. It seems like they just kind of took an easy way out. They knocked off the Wagner intercooler and then did the easy part, and then came up with this thing that, we don't want to hurt engine cooling. Not convinced. Again, just and it's not even. I mean, I'm telling you to buy the Wagner. It's not even our product.
But I mean, if you look at them side by side,
you can buy it from us.
Yeah, every bracket, clip mount, hose, provision that was added specifically to that intercooler is the same between.
They completely knocked it off. Yeah. It's a direct copy. They should have at least designed their own new intercooler, but easier to knock off the Wagner, I suppose. Should I trade my B9 for a MK8 Golf R? Depends what you're looking for. I don't know.
I got to take this call.
Okay, go. B9s are very potent and fun platforms. It'd be interesting to know, what you're looking for. But I mean, the B9's a great car, so it just depends. I would say if you had a B8 or B6, that'd be different. PQ35, yes, definitely. Does the stage 1 tune crackles for the MK8 GTI? Yes, it does. In whatever the sport mode. Yeah. Some B9 fueling questions. How do you plan on solving the fueling problem for more power on B9 3.0 T? Someone says, what's the next step to fix the fueling issue for the B9s S4, S5, and SQ5? The white paper mentioned there's a fix to combat this issue, but I haven't heard anything. Upgraded injection. We already have a high pressure fuel pump. Adding more high pressure fuel pump will likely be part of the solution in the future. I will say that right now we are working and testing bigger injectors that we sourced and had made, and the initial results are very good. So just the bigger injectors alone are a game changer as far as fueling. I think as we've discussed before, the port injection is not looking good. It's not really viable due to the fact that the B9 3-liter and the 2.9 they don't have intake manifold ports. There's ports in the head, and there's actually no intake manifold. It's like a plenum. It's an intake plenum that just bolts on and creates an airspace around the cast ports in the head. So,
we're talking B9.
yeah. I'm just talking about like bigger injectors are coming.
Yep.
That's really the solution. Will there be any more live streams before the end of the year, considering there are holidays on the next 2 Mondays? I'd like to. It may not be on a Monday.
I'm off next week. So
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
so
No, I think
probably not
This
next
is probably
week.
the last one before the end of the year.
We'll try to do another one. I could do one with alone or with somebody else.
There you go.
But I think it's good to get them out there.
Yeah.
I bought a 190 crank pulley during Black Friday. Anything I should know before installing? Yes, you should buy our front main seal, which is a great while you're in there. We just happen to have one right here. Sorry, buddy, you walked into this one. So this is on our website. We haven't released it yet. We should be today? Wednesday. Okay, but it's just a new billet front main seal. The advantage over the factory one is it uses a spring tension seal, which is actually an older fashion technology that is better than the newer stuff that's being used. The newer seals are a molded Teflon lip that has some spring to it. And so the Teflon lip kind of loads up on the crank sealing surface. It does a pretty good job, but they do tend to be failure prone compared to the spring type seals, which is a Viton rubber that is loaded by a long spring that goes around the inside of it. So that's the spring right there. Yeah,
I wouldn't.
I'm not going to, but yeah, it does come out. But the spring maintains tension over its entire life. In some cases, we've seen these seals last hundreds of thousands of miles. So
it's generally a cost of manufacture is why more and more OEMs are moving away from it. It's
Definitely.
a more expensive seal system to integrate.
Yeah, and then it's just a sexy bill of parts. These do leak on their own, so it's a good bit of preventative maintenance. Or if you're trying to solve the problem, absolutely. And then it's when you're doing your front crank pulley, it's right there as well. And then since we're talking about new products, we have a new oil cap for the Evo vehicles. So this would be any kind of MQB-Evo Gen 4. Full application list on our website. It's just a really nice billet cap with really nice locking functionality. I'll be honest, it's not necessarily a lot better functionally than the factory cap, but we found a lot of customers, the performance is sometimes hidden so much in these cars that
something to show for it would be good.
Yeah, some of these parts just highlight the fact that there are modifications here, and that this is more than just a stock car. That's why we saw the carbon covers and stuff too. So anyways, these are all in stock and we'll be releasing tomorrow, but they're currently on the website if you're interested. Let us know if you have any questions. Someone says, I want to leave my wife for those calipers. Everyone says, those calipers got me hot and bothered. Yeah, no, tell me about it, buddy. The amount of Riz these calipers have is pretty high. Yeah, your wife probably isn't going to be too interested in these calipers unless you convince her that they're essential for safety. And they are. I mean, you could not be safer than with this caliper on your car. Very smart. Have you found the limit of the A10 turbo with a built motor and injectors? I don't think we've done that yet. I don't know if anyone has.
There's not a huge amount left in it. There is certainly some mid-range, but top end, maybe a little bit. But yeah, we're getting a lot out of that turbo already.
Yeah. Can you explain how flashing your car back to stock before going to the dealer to keep your warranty, does it not change your flash counter on the ECU?
We've talked about this a bunch. It depends on the specific ECU type. A number of them we do maintain whatever flash count it had when we first saw it. So as far as that goes, we try and just put the ECU back exactly as we found it when you go back to stock. Whether that's going to get you around a warranty thing, that's not the intent. I mean, it's just to put things back exactly as we found them. We can't speak as to what the dealers or the OEMs are looking for, but yeah, it's.
I don't think flash counters are nearly that.
It's not
they're not that problematic.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty, like we always discuss, flash counters. There's no standard like your car is this old and this flash counter has to be this exact number of flashes. That's not a thing. So because you go to a dealership, they could flash it 4 or 5 times when they're trying to do something.
Yeah, or an independents are able to flash these cars as well. So via the OEM tools as well. So
if you have an egregious amount of flashes,
flash counters aren't the be all end all.
They could ask you what's going on, but I think people forget, like, you are the customer. You did buy this car for a lot of money, and it's actually the dealerships, the OEMs, they owe you legally a warranty. It's a consumer protection thing.
Right, and they have to indicate or show or prove that whatever they deem the cause is caused by whatever they're claiming is denied.
They can't just pull things out of their ass. Doesn't mean that they won't try, and doesn't mean that you might have to escalate things and spend way too much time yelling at people further and further up the chain. But in general, the issue that we see is people go to the dealership with a tune that's clearly causing an issue, and that's when they get in trouble. Someone says, won't the spring seal wear in the crank versus Teflon? Well, it wouldn't last longer if it did. I mean, we're literally saying it's a longer lasting, more reliable option. So, no, this is Viton rubber. There is oil here, which does seep in there to lubricate it.
We're not going to be able to see it well on the video, but there's wicks built into this, basically, or channels built into this. That as the crankshaft rotates, it's actually pumping a little bit of oil up to that face of the seal to keep a lubrication layer there.
So no, there is no visible wear on the crank due to these seals. Again, that's why they last longer. They don't wear out. They last a long time. The Teflon seals, like Nate said, are cheaper and quicker to manufacture. That is why things have gone that way. It's possible if there was way too much spring tension. Yeah, I guess it could.
I'm trying to think of how we've got several 100,000-mile i5s that use these seals, and I can't think of a single grooved.
No, I've never seen one.
Crank assembly.
No, it's not a thing. Can you share some of the products for the Mark 8 GTI that are significantly improved versus OE? Well, you walked into this one.
Yeah. Take a look at the catalog.
All of our products are significantly improved over OE. The products, most of the products that we do for all vehicles, but the GTI, are better performing versions of the factory.
Does our website not say that, Sean?
I don't know. We should do it.
We'll have to look into that and see. I think we should probably promote that a little better if it's not clear.
But yeah, so if you're talking about reliability type products, I'm trying to think of if we've done anything like that for the GTI to date. I think most of the things that we almost
as far as like a fixing,
there's a problem. Yeah, like an Achilles heel.
Like strut mount, but that's like not
the dogbone insert stuff.
Inserts are performance.
Yeah, but it does fix a lot of that. I mean,
trailing arms.
Yeah, the trailing arm bushings.
But they're also higher performing.
Yeah,
so
also higher performing.
With the fueling upgrades coming for B8 like injectors, do you plan to stay with E40 blend or move up to E60 like B9 chassis have been able to stay, or even fully 85?
Ideally, I'd love to shoot for fully 85 on this, that's our goal, is to be able to just pump in straight. Obviously it's going to vary depending on the pump, but pull up to an 85 and station and be able to just send it on that. So that's our goal for even all the way up through the Merc Racing Charger.
Yeah, a lot of questions today.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to get all these.
Do you see 1,000 horsepower with a TTE 10 with built motor and bigger injectors? Also, what kind of bigger injectors did you guys source?
Sorry, I'm having something else on here.
I don't know if the A10 will get to 1,000 crank.
The top end is there's not a lot left there.
Well, not in the current configuration. With different housings,
Oh yeah, the turbo as it sits.
The compressor and turbine wheel could what definitely flows more than 810, but this is the challenge with hybrid turbos. The only advantage of a full frame turbo is that you are sticking the aerodynamics of a turbo inside whatever kind of arbitrary factory housings the car came with, in which case typically housings that support a fraction of the power. So you're talking about factory OEM housings that were sourced and spec'd for a 350 horsepower turbo are now being asked to do 8, 9, 1,000 horsepower. So that is limiting the flow here, and I think there's an opportunity to probably make 50 to 100 more foot-pounds of torque with a built motor, in some of these applications. We haven't published any numbers yet. This is just gut feel type stuff, so don't hold me to it. But there is more power there, but I don't think the current A10 turbo is going to be the next generation of 1,000 horsepower. There's going to be more bigger turbo, better off, higher horsepower options coming to really support those 1,000 horsepower. What's the warranty on your engine hoses? I sent an email. I have a breather hose on my Mark 1 TT. Usually the warranty on most of our products is 1 year, but definitely send us an email. We don't ever want to leave anyone hanging.
No.
And in general, all of our breather hoses should last a very long time. So definitely send us an email. We'll do our best to accommodate you. Someone's asking if we do an NA VR6 tune. We actually used to. We don't mess with that anymore. There's really not a lot of power.
Not a lot, no.
It's minimal.
It's more driver kind of feel stuff where rev limits could be changed, that kind of thing. But as far as like raw power output and changes, it picked up some, but it wasn't much.
I saw we got woofed.
Yep.
Cheers. Woof woof right back at you, buddy. Someone's asking if we have tunes in the works for the C8 A6 platform.
Actively being worked on.
Yep, that's something we're working on. Someone says, I'll buy you a $22 cocktail if you add advanced launch control and test pipe files for CREC.
That is also being worked on.
Well noted. That's a very tempting offer.
Yep.
I'm currently stage 1 on my A6C7. I purchased a heat exchanger and an upper pulley. What other modifications should I get if I want to go dual pulley?
Intake.
Definitely intake, which we have. I think that's about it. Mm-hmm. As long as you have like an S34 intake, you'll be in good shape.
Yep. And there's, of course, all the regular maintenance stuff we always go on about. So there's intercoolers and all the, various items and as these get older.
Someone's asking lifespan of 034 adjustable upper control arms for street car use. It's going to depend on your area. If you have decently good roads, it should last a while.
Street car use means basically the most wide range of conditions you could possibly think of.
If you're just hitting a lot of potholes and
and super nasty stuff and stuff,
it's going to directly impact the longevity of those rubber bushings. So, but in general, I would say the inner bushings should last years. The rest of the kit will hold up even longer unless there's like a lot of corrosive elements. In that case, you may have to rebuild them.
And we have kits to rebuild them.
We have extensive rebuild kits for those. So pretty much any and everything you could ever want to do. I think we offer one kit that's everything except the aluminum. So, and then also just down to the bushings by themselves and everything in between. I don't see live data tools in the SPI app for my MED9 ECUs. That's still in the works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're adding more and more as we go.
PQ35.
Yeah, the older cars are. I think we spoke about this last week. There's much less of a like standardized data set like there is on a lot of the newer stuff. So it's literally ECU by ECU. I've got to build it out. It's not just like it's an MED9. It's a, MED9 with this box code exactly in this revision. So, we'll be adding more and more of those.
Does the no crackle file work with stage 3 as well for the B9 RS5?
Yep, absolutely.
Yes. What quarter mile times can we expect on a stage 1 RS3 Daza?
Oh my goodness, that's...
I think for sure, like, easy mid-11s.
No.
I'm just saying, like...
Oh, stage 1.
Stage 1.
Yeah.
Like, without even trying.
Yeah.
It
Depends on pump gas.
The fueling is going to make a big difference there, if you're on E85.
On E85, I think mid-11s.
Mid to low,
Mid to low.
Definitely low 11s are a possibility if you hit your launch right and you have a good grippy surface. So on pump gas, I think it's closer to 12 or something like that. 11.9, like on 93.
I think faster.
I think it's really good. Yeah.
Good look.
It's been a while since
they're insanely fast.
Has those in our heads.
I just remember that one day we went with Mark's RS3 and we did tons of runs. I think that I don't know if that was stage 2, but he was running like back-to-back 11.1s on whatever setup he was on. I think you can... Is there a leaderboard somewhere they can look at with our stuff on it? People are asking about advanced launch control for B9. It's something we're working on. It's not ready for release yet. I understand we need the new cable to flash tunes via the app. Any plans to add just the data logs and app gauges for users with the old cable?
Yeah, so at some point in the future, the Windows applications that everybody's using now is going to be migrated to this code base that the app is based on. So yes, that'll likely come along, but there's no ETA.
And it's not a priority.
And it'll come along when it's ready.
For a VW Audi transverse chassis, what would you personally do first? TCU tune or dogbone insert? I mean, the dogbone insert is really cheap compared to the TCU tune. I would do both at the same time.
TCU tune, you also have to have a matching ECU tune as well.
Yeah.
Rev limits and shift points and all that get changed.
But you could put the insert in a stock car. Does the catted downpipe get ruined when running the crackle tune versus no crackle?
No. I'm going to assume this is like B9 or something. Yeah. No, it's the crackle overrun stuff. That's all factory functions that are in there. So it's all, model UGT based, enablement and all that. So we haven't seen a single catalyst issue on those cars.
And keep in mind, it's not just a random crackle tune that dumps fuel into the cat.
No.
The tune is managing the catalyst temperature.
Yeah, this is all OEM stuff. It's the OEM strategies and all that.
In fact, the catalyst doesn't work unless it hits a certain temperature, and then even the factory ECU is managing the temperature of the catalyst within a range, from a low range to a high range, and so the crackle, functionality keeps all that intact. The cat's never overheating, even with the crackles. Audi S3 versus Golf R. What's the better pick for the snow conditions? I think they're the same.
I don't know. There's going to be much.
The Golf R has more room in the back for.
But as far as they have the same hull deck system, the same.
I mean, your approach angles might be a little better on the Golf. If you're going over snowbanks and stuff, I don't know. But the drivetrains are down.
They're pretty much the same. If you're talking.
That's not.
I have a 2013 S5. Is the stage 1 tune going to ruin the timing chain? No. The tuning won't have really any effect on the timing chain. The timing chain just stretches over time.
Yeah, the tensioners will go, and I don't know what the mileage is on yours, but there's maintenance items in there.
All right, last question. Someone has a B9.5 stage 1 ECU in Southern California. Would you recommend changing oil from 520 to 530/40?
That's going to be up to whatever your use conditions are. If it's a street car you're not doing much track time with, I just leave the stock oil in there.
I don't think there's really not too much difference there.
No. And I mean, to date, we've still never seen an issue stock oil weight or otherwise on any of these cars. It's a more peace of mind thing for heavy track.
There's a good chance it's going to be sitting in traffic for long periods of time. So probably the thinner weight.
It's just the factory stuff. Yeah. Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. I think we got through just about all the questions. And
And I'll probably see you next year. That's right. 'Cause I'm not
Yeah,
next week.
might not see Nate again, so I'll definitely try to do one more before the end of the year.
Okay.
Hopefully, you guys can join us. So, cheers.
Take care.